Well, it's been some time, hasn't it? Pretty much 3 years since I made anything worth of note, i.e. an actual review, but I thought, what the hell, might as well hop back onto that saddle, seeing as though I've amassed 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, really surprising since I didn't actually do anything, but at this point, I'm not complaining. But Jesus, for real, how did this happen? Do people actually like my shit? So in the spirit of bringing old things back, I've decided to do a review. Seeing as Godzilla vs. Kong, savior of cinema it seems, was released recently, and how one of my first reviews on this channel was of Kong Skull Island, I thought it'd be best to keep things in tradition, and follow up with this highly anticipated review, as I'm sure many people are eager to hear my thoughts on the biggest movie of the year so far. So, without further ado, I present to you my full review of the Don't Toy With Me Miss Nagatoro anime series. A popular anime at the moment consisting of some controversial elements, supposedly. What does this have to do with Godzilla or Kong? Well, supposedly the chief artist behind the manga this show is adapting has a history of drawing hentai. One in particular depicting ape rape. So yeah, there's your monkey connection. Enjoy that thread before it breaks, fellas. Now, I must clarify, because I'm reviewing this, people might get the impression that I might be a weeb. While I'm not unfamiliar with Japanese culture...
What does katana mean?
It means Japanese sword.
I'm not a frequent viewer of most anime. There are certain aspects that frustrate me to no end, personally. Although I have been opening my horizon to certain shows at the moment. I've actually been really enjoying Attack on Titan, and was left kind of awestruck by Akira, so I'm curious to explore more. So, I'm rebranding this channel. I am no longer Terrible Lizard. I am Terrible Otaku. So what is Don't Toy With Me Miss Nagatoro about? It's about two high school students, of course. One being an introverted as fuck and downright socially paralytic artist boy, and the other being...
This smoking hot Latina. And they have this like...
I don't know if it's appropriate to call a 12-year-old smoking hot, and I'm not even sure if she was a Latina.
with a propensity to harass and bully the main character, as the show's name suggests. To simplify further, it is blue balls and social anxiety blended into a concoction that will repel some and attract others. The cute girl bullies wimpy string bean genre certainly has the appeal to the sadomasochistic types. You know, the types of people that enjoy being told that they're worthless pieces of shit, and enjoy the sight of a domineering female turning their testicles into flatbread. Yeah, you know, those guys. Those people. And while this does certainly pander to that crowd, this has a few key things that makes it much more of an enjoyable watch than what is implied. Firstly, the animation is pretty neat. It can be pretty to look at, and be incredibly expressive at the same time. It's nice to know that there was a lot of dedication for such a simple premise, regardless of how many underpaid animators went window jumping after this. Secondly, the premise isn't entirely about the author's barely disguised fetish. The relationship between the two main characters starts off almost predatory in nature. The bullying initially is so sadistic that it makes our beta boy tear up. So each time this fucking girl reappears, everyone is filled with a sense of dread. She's so annoying. And she confirms that she's here to stay. Much of this constitutes harassment, but weirdly the main character is okay with this. Or at least isn't brave enough to tell this little brat to piss off, and accepts this as a normal dynamic. By the way, this character is simply referred to as
Senpai, 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 Senpai.
no given name as of yet. So obviously the writers were taking inspiration from Christopher Nolan.
I'm the protagonist.
It also doesn't help that this guy initially talks like the biggest incel on the planet.
What the fuck?
He accepts his bullying partly because he's always been used to this sort of mockery. But the difference here is that Nagatoro never takes it that far. Not in the case for episode 1. She actually sticks up for him, and even gives him room for improvement and encourages him to grow in a tough love sort of way. So eventually, all this bullying is just watered down to very extreme but playful banter. Nagatoro goes from being a sadistic little bitch to kind of just being a minor annoyance. So that's the biggest selling point of the show, really. It turns from uncomfortable to uncomfortable yet kind of cute. And the entire draw at this point is the question as to whether or not these two will just admit that they fucking like each other and overcome their stubbornness. The progression of the romance is what's keeping my interest at the moment, as they eventually have their walls let down a bit as the series goes on. Senpai's extreme introversion has me furious at points. He will simply not take the hint and backs down and denies everything like a little bitch. And Nagatore's inability to admit that she actually likes the dude and constant teasing is an obvious facade to not appear weak. This is made obvious by the constant blushing, the shit-eating grin, Jesus Christ, I hate that grin, the crazy obsession and the protectiveness she has over him, and the fact that she gets cut when he says they're not dating. Not to mention the fact that when things go too far, she backs down and even gets all shy too. If this were a normal bully, I doubt she'd care. The bullying, in a way, is a classic method of projecting her own feelings onto him unknowingly. Pfft, typical woman behavior.
Take my wife, please!
So they are both ridiculously insecure at the end of the day. And, you know, I don't want to be that guy, but please just get a room. You're making everyone here feel weird. Unfortunately, that's the down point of the show I'm finding at the moment, is the show's episodic nature makes the progression at this point feel very slow. Each episode is essentially split into two, with two different isolated events, each involving awkward hilarity and other weird shit, which can make a lot of the viewing feel rather inconsequential, like you could skip this episode or one half of it, because then it becomes apparent that this is just a show about a guy getting kicked around and kind of being alright by the end. So that can make it a very frustrating watch. So when Nagatoro shows signs of liking the dude, I kinda question why sometimes. Was it just for fun? Is that how she got her kicks? Did she secretly like him this entire time but was too proud to admit it? Or did she simply find him interesting because he wasn't like the other guys at school that she found boring? Nagatoro's motivation is a little unclear as to why she likes this dweeb so much, but I'm sure that will get explained at some point, because my biggest fear is that this show will just end with no progression whatsoever. I think it's owed at this point to take this somewhere and develop it more, because if not, it would be the most pointless outing and I'd hate myself for investing so much time into this fucking anime. This is more of a concern than it is a real downfall, but one can only speculate at this point. I haven't read the manga. So Senpai, my boy, my sweet, sweet boy, please, grow some balls. For my sake, and the people at home. We're all rooting for you. We love you. Bitch. So overall, yeah, I'd recommend. If you can handle the cringe and the contemporary references.
Amogus.
But yeah, that's it for me. I might continue with this series when the whole thing's released. Give my follow-up thoughts, and do other reviews during the time being, who knows. See you later.